All right, ladies and gentlemen. So I actually found an absolutely insane story coming from Black Myth Wukong. Now, as you guys are aware, Black Myth Wukong was a massive success for their developer. And on top of that, too, obviously for Sony, because Sony was involved. But when you really think about it, when you really look at Black Myth Wukong, you'll come to the realization that Shack News came to as well, based off the information they have, which is Sony is actually up now 12% from in Q2 2024 year over year. And the only reason that they are up is because of Black Myth Wukong. Black Myth Wukong has literally saved Sony's ass after Concord's massive disaster.
Good morning. This is your wake up call.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, unless you're living under a rock, most of you will understand that Concord was such a massive failure that it lost Sony an ungodly amount of money. There is so many rumors as to how much money it actually lost Sony, but it is anywhere between 200 and 400 million dollars, because all that money, those 8-9 years of development costs, everything under the sun is literally all gone and wasted because the game was canceled after 10 days and they had to refund everybody because of the game's failure. And then they just recently announced that they're sunsetting the game forever and it's never coming back. Well, apparently they are starting to realize the success of games like Black Myth Wukong, because if it wasn't for this game, Sony would be in a world of hurt. So let's get into this article, guys, from Shack News. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says Sony Game and Network Services sales were up 12% in Q2 of 2024. Black Myth Wukong and EA Sports FC 25 drove a year-over-year increase in game sales on PlayStation. Now, Sony has reported its earnings for the second quarter of its fiscal year 2024. This report included new data from PlayStation, which saw an increase in the game and network service division thanks to major launches like Black Myth Wukong and EA Sports FC 25. Sony's Q2 2024 earnings report was published this morning. The company's game and network service division made 1 billion yen. This represents a 12% increase over last year. During the subsequent earnings call, Sony called out Black Myth Wukong and EA Sports as high-performing titles that drove sales during the quarter. Now, when it comes to EA Sports games, okay, EA Sports games tend to be pretty damn successful, like nonstop. I mean, they're part of these games that can come out every year, offer you essentially the same damn thing, and people will still keep paying more and more and more money for it. That's just what they are. They are just a farm of money. So there's no denying that. But a game like Black Myth Wukong that has sold almost 20 million copies, and they did that in less than 6 months, is absolute insanity, especially for a single player game. And it's something that Sony is going to get a hard on over. There's no doubt about it. Sony is going to try to do everything they can to replicate that success. It's going to be fairly difficult, I gotta imagine, considering that Sony doesn't seem to like to do single player games. They seem to like to focus on live service games. That seems to be what they like to focus on. But ultimately, they're still going to be doing what they're going to do no matter what. And they seem to be doing both at the same time. But I think that Black Myth Wukong has definitely made them realize that single player games are absolutely still a player. Then it says the performance of these games was enough to make up for the poor performance of Concord, which led to the closure of developer Firewalk Studios. Stick with Shack News for more information on this story. Now, again, guys, it's a short and sweet story, but I want to really focus on one particular thing, and that's the fact of Black Myth Wukong and what it did for the gaming industry. Black Myth Wukong truly saved the gaming industry. I really do believe that, because this game woke up a lot of people from the nonsense that was what they were trying to portray, right? Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. If you look at this website, it's actually very interesting because it gives you a lifetime unit sales generated by a particular video game. And in this particular one, it's Black Myth Wukong. And if you notice, on launch day, this game sold nearly 5 million copies on launch day. That is an absolutely disgusting number. And then in the first 3 days, it sold 10 million copies. Absolutely insane. And then by September, September 5th. By September 5th, this game sold 18 million copies. This game is past 20 million. There's no doubt about it. It's November. of this year. I know of people that are still getting the game to this day. I gave away this game recently on Hypnocast, so that counts as a sale. Ultimately, this game is well past 20 million copies, and it did so very quickly. Where you have games like Dragon Age the Veilguard, for example, they haven't even hit 1 million sales. It's barely hit 500,000, to be honest with you, and they're trying to tout that as a success. They're trying to tout that as a success when you got a brand new IP like Black Myth Wukong crushing you in every sense of the word, in every metric of the word. I mean, it's not even close. So when you look at these numbers, this is what I mean by saying it saved the gaming industry, because Black Myth Wukong, regardless of whether or not they want to admit it, I feel like they definitely woke up a lot of the developers that were sleeping, or a lot of executives that were sleeping at some of these studios, right? Sony, Xbox, everybody. Like, it really woke them up. It made them realize that single player games are absolutely still a powerhouse, because every single one of them are slowly but surely trying to believe in their mind that when it comes to video games, they have to be live service. If it's not live service, then it's never going to make enough money. It's never going to be profitable. They had all these excuses for making these games live service, and then Black Myth Wukong just jumps in there with his monkey stick and ends up completely destroying the narrative in every sense of the word. Like, Black Myth Wukong didn't even give him a chance to even process the information. You know what I mean? Like, the Black Myth Wukong didn't give Sony or anybody a chance to process the information and say, okay, maybe they were wrong, because they just flat out blitzed the entire industry with this much product sold. And again, this game sold almost 5 million copies on launch day, and Dragon Age the Veilguard is going to be going on a month after release in a couple of weeks, and the game is nowhere near close to even 1 million, let alone 5 million. This is where Dragon Age the Veilguard needs to be to break even, and Black Myth Wukong just surpassed that exponentially by like 8 times, 7 times that number within just a few weeks of launch. It's disgusting. So this is why I can never take it serious when these companies try to be like, oh yeah, games like Veilguard are such a success. We hit 89,000 concurrent. Everybody loves us. When it's so obvious that, number one, people are refunding the game like crazy, and number two, it's outclassed by any game that is actually supported by gamers. You know what I mean? Dragon Age the Veilguard is not a game supported by gamers. Dragon Age the Veilguard is a game supported by streamers who want to prove and showcase that the game is woke as shit and garbage. And it also supported by some of the activists. But let's be real, most of the activists don't support it either. They don't want to pay for it. They want a free code. That we have proof of that too. So again, just to talk about the numbers really quick to try to drive the point home, ultimately Black Myth Wukong had absolutely saved the gaming industry, and I really do feel like it woke up a lot of developers. Are there still people sleeping? Absolutely. There are people in the industry that are 100% sleeping, that have no idea about any of this shit, nor do they even care, and they just want to focus on live service games because they feel like that's where all the money's at. And let's be real, if you are a popular live service game, yeah, there is a lot of money in that. But see, the key thing is you have to be popular. You have to actually get people to want to play your game, right? Unlike Concord that died in 10 days. You have to get people that actually want to play your game to even have a shot at being profitable over the long term of time. But if you don't have that, then you have nothing. You might as well make a single player game on a lower budget and see how far you can go with that, which is exactly what happened with Black Myth Wukong. Wukong had, what, like a $50-60 million budget, something insane like that, and the game sold 18 million copies. It's $1 billion franchise, and it's brand new right out the gate. It didn't have an established IP like Dragon Age does, which makes that game even more pathetic when you think about what the numbers are, considering that it's already established and it's not brand new. So ultimately, guys, I'm super proud and happy for Black Myth Wukong. I'm glad this game exists, and it managed to wake everybody the fuck up who's been sleeping in the industry. And hopefully, as Sony has announced, they're going to be focusing on single-player games, at least one single-player game every year. Hopefully that means better content for gamers, but knowing Sony, you can't really trust them too much. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate if you could like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.